going to teach you how to portion a chicken so that you can get 10 pieces from a whole chicken. This week's meal plan is called the Quick and Easy Week, and basically we do a very simple supper every single night, and then on Sunday we prepare a huge frittata, and that you can eat for lunch or breakfast from Monday to Thursday. Now, it is an intermittent fasting meal plan, so we recommend having that frittata for lunch. And then some of the suppers include creamy beef stroganoff on buttered cabbage for Tuesday, quick trincado with sauteed veg on Wednesday, my famous wet jerk chicken for Thursday night supper, and a bunless burger night on Friday. On Saturday night, we're doing romesco tray-baked chicken. Now, if you want access to this meal plan, or you'd like to try any of our other meal plans, we release a new one every single week, and you can get access to that on our online program. So visit realmealrevolution.com and click sign up, or follow any of the links below. In this week's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make romesco tray-baked chicken and my famous jerk chicken. And before we do that, I'm going to teach you how to get 10 pieces out of one whole chicken with nothing but a pair of scissors and any knife. This is a lesson on portioning chicken. Now, before I even start portioning the chicken, I have to teach you a little trick on how to prevent your board from ever sliding around on the table. All you need to do is take a damp cloth. Now, it's not completely dry, but it's not soaking, and you stick it down and pop your board down on the mat, and then you'll see it can't move. You want to take this little trick to the next level. Take your cloth and lay it out so that half of it hangs off the table. Pop it back on, and then when you need to clean your knife, you've got some lappy or cloth hanging off the bottom that just sits there all the time. Assuming your board's not sliding around and you're ready to rock and roll, now we can portion the chicken. So when you get your chicken from the supermarket, often the little winglets are tucked underneath this fat because it looks nice and it's easy to package. So if you're going to roast it whole, obviously take those out so that the wings can get crispy. But if you're going to portion it, you just need to neaten up some of the skin. And you can throw the skin away if you like, or you can chuck it into a stock, but just use your knife to trim it off and pop it somewhere. Okay, now we're going to get this chicken into 10 pieces. So obviously it's not going to feed 10 people, but it'll be in 10 pieces. First thing I'm going to do is take the little wings off. So the wings are actually joined here, and the way to portion a chicken best is actually to go at the joint. There's no scientific way to do this other than feeling your way down through the meat and getting yourself into the joint area. And you'll know that you're in the joint when you end up cutting and you're not cutting directly into straight through bone. You're cutting through cartilage. And that just goes on feel. So you just feel your knife into the joint. And, oh, 2 wings. We got our wings off. The next thing you need to do is your legs. Now, if you pull these legs apart, you can see you get these lines here. And the way I know where to stick the knife is I draw a line straight down the middle of these lines. So make the incision. If you put your fingers in here, you can see there are 2 muscles. There's the breast muscle, and then there's the leg muscle. And what you want to do is keep cutting with your knife, but using the knife to sort of push the muscle aside of the breast so that you can cut the skin and get down to the point where you reach bone. It's actually not a knife task, it's a hand task. So what you can see on this side is there's actually a joint in here, and you can feel that that's kind of like the thigh joint. So what you do is you put your middle finger on that thigh joint and your thumb on the knee, and you pop it open. And once that joint pops out, all you need to do is use your knife to cut through the meat and separate it, and there you go. The next step is to see where this joint is. Remember, we're going to try and avoid cutting through the bone as much as possible. And you can see the hinge is here. So all you do is feel where that little joint is with your finger, and you just cut straight through. And then you've got your thigh and your drumstick. And then we just repeat the same thing on the other side. grab the breast muscle, use the knife to cut down until we reach bone. Now we find that little joint, you put your middle finger on that and you pop. And then you use your knife. There we go. Joint, there it is. And then you just cut straight. Okay, so now you need to break the cavity in half so that you can cut the breasts. And you can see in here there's this big cavity. To get an idea of where to cut, you can just pull the skin. And if you look here, there are ribs in here, and you want to basically cut all of this off the ribs. So there are two ways you can do this. The one is to use scissors, and that is very easy. You can take your scissors and just cut. And the other way you can do it is with a knife, but because I've got my scissors here. So here's a nice back. There are actually really good bits of meat here. This is actually the chicken oyster, which you can cut off and cook on its own. I'm going to roast this and put this into a broth. Now you're left with these two breasts, and they're both on the bone. There are two ways you can do this. The one is to take the breast off the bone, but when you take the breast off the bone, you lose juiciness. So the best way to cook the breast is actually on the bone. So we want to cook this breast on the bone, and to keep this bone intact and on the chicken, we have to split it down the middle. So what we're trying to do is get a perfect cut down through this bone, which is actually very difficult to do, and it requires a perfect chop where you kind of like aim and you land with the butt of your knife. So the trick I'm going to show you is how to hit as hard as you like with the knife and never miss your target. So you can see here I put in a little incision. You pop your metal lifter, and basically with all the force you have, you just come down with your knife, and there you go, straight through the bone. And now you have two full breasts on the bone, and then your next step to get these breasts into two pieces. Again, you can see there's the soft bit on the breastbone here. I want to get this piece into two pieces. So you just go up and come down. Let the spatula guide you. And one last time. Let's move this. And here you are, you've got your 10 pieces of chicken, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then I've got my offcuts, my chicken fat, which I can use for grilling, or I can chuck this into my stock, my chicken carcass. I'm going to teach you how to make jerk chicken. Now there are two ways you can make a jerk chicken. You can use a dry jerk rub, or you can make a wet jerk sauce. And then what you do is you marinate the chicken in that and you roast it in the oven. And it is one of the most classic Jamaican dishes that you get. Before you start anything, preheat the oven to 180. The jerk recipe I'm going to show you now has got smoked paprika instead of normal paprika, so it gives it a slightly more smoky edge. And the reason we've done that is so that you can bake it in the oven and still get a smoky edge to it, because usually you barbecue jerk chicken. So very, very easy. We're going to take all of these ingredients and we're going to add them into the blender and blitz them straight away. But let's just go through what they are quickly. So we're just going to get all of this stuff together in a stick blender. And the first thing I'm going to do is get my spring onions together. I'm just going to top and tail them and then cut them into some big chunks and toss those in. We're going to garnish them at the end with some lime cheeks, but right now I'm just going to squeeze the juice of these limes in there. Chilies, you take off the top piece and then you cut them open. And I've got to show you, so these are the hot things, these seeds, but if you bend them over, you can just pull them out with your hands. Otherwise you can scrape them with a knife, but if you want it really hot, leave the seeds in. If you don't, take them out. 3 cloves of garlic, you just want to peel them. A nice big handful of fresh coriander, just give that a rough chop. Remember, you want to cut up the stems because they actually wrap around the blade. They're quite fibrous. Basil, you can keep the stems on as well, just chop those up. Chuck those in. And then thyme. The big stalks, they're not very nice to eat, so you can pick them for the little stalks. I think the stick blender will get these, but if you want to be like super, super, super anal, you can always pick the actual leaves off and drop individual leaves in. Just, you know, that should be fine. So in this recipe I've said avocado oil. Basically I want a flavorless oil, and avocado oil doesn't really have like a distinct flavor. Olive oil is very bitter. If you use sesame oil, obviously that's super nutty. So whatever oil you're comfortable with, as long as it doesn't have a very overpowering flavor, you can chuck that in. Then we're going to chuck in our spices. Now if you want some extra flavor, you can toast all of these spices off when they're whole seeds, and then you can grind them down. They are going to sort of cook away in the oil a bit while you're roasting the chicken, or if they were on the barbecue. Okay, then we just chuck in our spices. So we've got that smoked paprika, some ground ginger, cayenne pepper, allspice, cinnamon, it's cloves, and some nutmeg, and some cumin. Okay, and then the final step is to add some salt and pepper, so we're going to give that a solid crack. If you wanted to use fine salt for this, that's also totally cool. And a good crack of black pepper. Again, if you used half a teaspoon of ground pepper, that wouldn't matter that much. Now we just give it a blitz. Okay, now if you want it finer than this, which sometimes I do like it finer than this, you can always take the blades out and actually put a different attachment, like the fine blade from the stick cleaner on that, and give it a proper whiz, because this just makes it slightly smoother. And if you wanted to get super like anal about how fine it is, you can strain it through a sieve and then you get no chunks at all. Okay, the jerk's ready. Now we just take our chicken pieces. Yeah, I'm using thighs and drumsticks. I think they're juicier and just generally better. Just toss those into a nice big mixing bowl. The reason I toss them in a bowl is because if you do them in a tray, or you can toss them in a tray with your hand, but we want to get even coating all over the chicken. So, the chicken down, cover them in the sauce, and give them a good mix. Get your hands nice and dirty. All you do is take that and tip it into a tray. Spread them out evenly so that there's nice gaps between each piece. Now we put it in the oven for 35 minutes. Yum. So don't forget to use these tray juices. This is all of the chicken stock and delicious gravy.